Alina sat alone in the crowded Addis Ababa airport lounge, feeling like a stranger among younger travelers. This journey to Africa was meant to be an escape from the solitude that consumed her since her husband's death. But loneliness clung to her, even here. A young man entered the lounge, his confidence catching Alina's attention. His charisma was undeniable, contrasting with her isolation. When their eyes met, he approached and offered to help with her bag. Alina hesitated, then nodded, relieved by his assistance. The young man, Noah, introduced himself as a guide and asked if Alina was there for the safari. Surprised by his insight, she confirmed. They conversed, and Alina was drawn to his enthusiasm and optimism, feeling a spark she hadn't felt in years. Noah asked what brought Alina to Africa. She smiled wistfully, saying she was searching for adventure. Noah nodded warmly, assuring her Africa was full of it. Their groups were called, and as they parted, Noah playfully suggested they might meet again. On the safari, Alina sat in the jeep, capturing the breathtaking views. Noah, driving, advised her to keep her camera ready for elephants. Alina was amazed by the landscape, and Noah's chuckle added to the moment's magic. The jeep stopped, and Noah helped Alina out. They walked to see a herd of elephants, and as the afternoon wore on, their conversation deepened. Alina shared her past as a teacher and the emptiness after retirement, while Noah listened attentively. Noah shared his own journey of finding his calling, relating to Alina's story. Their connection grew as they exchanged experiences, and Alina felt a sense of understanding and companionship she hadn't experienced in a long time. Alina smiled, feeling a warmth in her chest she hadn't felt in a long time. Noah's passion, his certainty, was contagious. For the first time in what felt like forever, Alina allowed herself to hope again. I always thought life would get easier with age, Alina mused, her voice quiet. But listening to you, I realized the challenges just change. She smiled faintly, a soft expression that didn't quite reach her eyes. It's not the years that weigh you down, Noah, she continued, her words honest and heavy. It's the things you lose along the way. The honesty of her statement hung in the air, and for a moment, Noah was silent. Then almost too casually he spoke. I lost my father when I was 15, he said, his voice low. It's why I started working so young, so I could take care of my family. Alina was taken aback by his vulnerability. You've done well for yourself, she said quietly, her voice thick with admiration. It's not easy to face life's hardships and still carry yourself with such grace. Noah's eyes met hers, and the world seemed to shrink around them. There was no age between them, no difference in background or culture, only two people connecting over shared pain, shared resilience. The spell was broken when Noah's phone buzzed, and he answered quickly, speaking in Swahili. Alina turned her focus back to the elephants grazing in the distance, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted between them. Later, as the group gathered around the campfire, Alina noticed Noah's ease with others. His laughter filled the night air, his charm drawing people in effortlessly. Yet when his eyes found hers across the fire, there was a softness in his gaze, a look that seemed meant only for her. As the temperature dropped, Noah stood and offered her his jacket. You'll need this, he said simply, his tone matter-of-fact. Alina hesitated for a moment, then accepted it, feeling a jolt of warmth as their fingers brushed. It was a small gesture, but it stirred something inside her, a reminder of the warmth she hadn't felt in years. That night, as she lay in her tent, Alina stared at the ceiling, her heart heavy with confusion. She had come here seeking adventure, a break from the grief that had ruled her life. But now Noah's presence was stirring something inside her, a longing she couldn't quite name, a flicker of something she hadn't felt in a long time. The camp was quiet under the canopy of stars, the distant sounds of wildlife creating a symphony of the night. Noah approached her then, his smile cautious, as he held a tray with 2 glasses of wine. I thought you might enjoy this, he said, his voice warm as he placed the tray on the small table between them. Alina looked up from her journal, startled but not displeased. His presence grounded her. Thank you, she said softly, her voice nearly drowned out by the chirping crickets. Noah sat down, leaning back in his chair, his gaze lingering on her face. "You've been quiet today," he observed. "What's on your mind?" Alina swirled the wine in her glass, her thoughts swirling along with it. "I've had a lot on my mind," she admitted, her voice trailing off. "This trip, it's been different from what I expected." Noah raised an eyebrow, his tone light but his eyes searching. "Different good or different bad?" "Good," she said quickly, then paused. "But complicated." Noah didn't press her for more, allowing the silence to settle. The flickering firelight cast dancing shadows on their faces, softening the sharp edges of their reality. Finally, Alina spoke, her voice soft, breaking the quiet. "Can I ask you something?" "Anything," Noah replied, his voice unwavering. "Do you ever feel like you're living someone else's life?" Alina asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Like the person you were supposed to be got lost somewhere along the way?" Noah was quiet for a moment, his expression thoughtful. "I used to," he said finally. "After my father died, I felt trapped by responsibility, like my dreams didn't matter anymore. But then I realized something. The life you want doesn't just find you. You have to fight for it." Alina nodded slowly, his words resonating with her more deeply than she expected. "I envy that clarity," she said softly, her voice filled with a wistful longing. "I've spent so much time being what others needed me to be. A wife, a mother, a teacher. I don't know who I am outside of those roles." "You're more than the roles you play," Noah said firmly, his voice full of conviction. "You're here, exploring the world. That takes courage." Their eyes met then, and for the first time in a long while, Alina felt truly seen. The wall she had built around herself seemed to crumble, letting in the warmth of his presence. Without thinking, she reached out and placed her hand gently on his. The touch was brief but electric, a jolt of energy that passed between them. Noah didn't pull away. His gaze remained steady, unreadable, but Alina could feel the tension between them, the unspoken words that hung in the air. For the first time in years, Alina allowed herself to feel something more. And for the first time in a long while, it was enough to make her believe in the possibility of new beginnings. "I shouldn't have done that," Alina whispered, her hand retracting quickly. A deep blush crept across her cheeks, her fingers still tingling from the touch. "Why not?" Noah's voice was soft, soothing, as he leaned in closer. "Because it's inappropriate," she murmured, her eyes dropping to the glass in her hands. "Inappropriate doesn't always mean wrong," Noah said gently. "Sometimes the things we're told not to want are the very things we need the most." Alina's breath caught, her heart racing at the weight of his words. His fingers brushed against hers again, this time lingering. She didn't pull away. The world seemed to shrink around them, leaving only the soft glow of the firelight. Noah leaned in, and Alina's pulse quickened, but she didn't stop him. Their lips met in a tentative kiss, soft at first, hesitant, but soon deepening. It was a moment of surrender, of acknowledgement, of everything that had been left unsaid. When they finally pulled apart, Alina's eyes brimmed with tears. Noah, sensing her turmoil, reached up and gently wiped away one tear. His touch was tender, his voice low and sincere. "You're allowed to feel," he whispered. Alina didn't respond, her mind swirling with emotions too complex to voice. All she knew was that, for the first time in years, she felt alive. The journey back to the city was silent, but the kind of silence that spoke louder than words. Alina gazed out of the window, watching the vast savannah fade. Noah occasionally glanced at her, but neither of them spoke of what had happened the night before. At the hotel, Noah helped her with her luggage for what felt like the last time. Their eyes met briefly. Alina opened her mouth as if to say something, but the words didn't come. Noah gave her a small, understanding smile before stepping back. Later that evening, Alina sat on the edge of her bed, her phone in her hands. A message from Hazel flashed on the screen. "Call me when you can." Alina sighed, a sense of dread settling in her chest. She pressed the call button, knowing what was to come. "Hi, Mom," Hazel's voice came through, sharp but concerned. "How's the trip?" It's been eye-opening, Alina replied cautiously, her words measured. Hazel hesitated. I've been worried about you. I know this trip was supposed to help you heal, but something feels off. Are you okay? Alina's grip tightened on the phone. She wanted to say so much about the loneliness, the unexpected connection with Noah, the kiss that had shaken her to her core. But how could she explain something she barely understood herself? I'm fine, Hazel, she said, her voice steady but distant. After the call, Alina felt restless. She wandered out to the hotel balcony, where the city lights stretched out before her. The cool night air did little to calm the whirlwind of thoughts racing through her mind. She had made choices on this trip that defied every expectation she had set for herself. She wasn't sure if she regretted them, but one thing was clear. Those choices had changed her. The next morning, Noah arrived at the hotel to escort her to the airport. The ride was quiet, but there was no tension between them, only an unspoken understanding. When they reached the airport, Noah stepped out to help her with her luggage one last time. As they stood at the curb, Alina found her voice. Thank you, Noah, for everything, she said softly. Noah looked at her, his expression warm but bittersweet. You don't have to thank me, he replied. You've taught me as much as I've taught you. Alina smiled, but her eyes betrayed the sadness she felt. She had come to Africa seeking adventure and healing, but she was leaving with something far more complicated. An emotional connection she didn't fully understand, and a part of her heart she hadn't known was missing. I don't know what happens next, Alina whispered, her voice trembling with uncertainty. Neither do I, Noah admitted, his gaze steady. But that's life, isn't it? We just have to keep moving forward. Before Alina could second-guess herself, she reached out and hugged him. The embrace was brief, but it held the weight of all the unsaid words. The pain, the longing, the connection. When they pulled apart, Noah stepped back and gave her a small, knowing wave. Alina turned and walked toward the terminal, her heart heavy yet somehow lighter than before. On the plane, Alina sat by the window, her mind replaying the moments from the trip. The laughter, the conversations, the kiss, they were all memories she would carry with her, each one etched into her heart. She didn't know what the future held, but there was a quiet sense of resolve stirring within her. She wasn't the same woman who had arrived in Africa. Back home, Alina began writing letters to Hazel, honest, raw accounts of her life, her grief, and her journey toward rediscovery. She didn't mention Noah by name, but his presence was woven into every word, lingering like a faint but unmistakable thread through her stories. Months later, as Alina scrolled through the news, an article caught her eye. It was about a young African entrepreneur who had started a successful tour company. The accompanying photo showed Noah, standing proudly in front of a safari jeep with his team. Alina's heart swelled with pride, a bittersweet longing knotting in her chest. She smiled softly, her thoughts drifting to the man who had unexpectedly touched her life. Closing her laptop, she leaned back in her chair, the world outside feeling both distant and familiar. Life was unpredictable, messy, and full of surprises. But for the first time in years, Alina felt as though she was finally living it, truly living it.